Hi, friends. We are here to talk about the latest episode of Married to Medicine. I do think this was a really good episode because there was stuff happening. Like, there were dynamics, there were conversations, there was a group event. Good God. And we introduced a couples trip. Like, where was this episodes ago? But okay. So, even in like the little intro montage thingies where they kind of check in on everybody pretty briefly, I thought it was funny. Heavenly's joke. Like, she had a sweet tea come in for a dentist appointment, I guess. And she was saying she had to ask Dr. G's permission to get it done. And Heavenly was like, well, do you have a medical card? And she was like, no. And Heavenly was like, well, Quad had the medical card. I thought that was funny. We then get a date with Toya and Eugene, and they go to this like flower arrangement thing or whatever. And Toya does say, that she likes making or she loves flowers, so that's helpful. And they talk briefly in the confessional, and he does say, Toya's still hard to please, and she's hard to be married to, which is, I mean, it's not like a detrimental crazy thing to say, but it's like, but yeah, like the context given, I'm not mad at this storyline. I guess it doesn't necessarily bother me, and I think it's kind of interesting just because I feel like we all feel like there is some thing interesting about, well, I'm speaking for everybody, but I don't care. Something interesting about Toya and Eugene. Not that it's got to be so deep and salacious, but I think it's just something interesting about their dynamic. So this is a storyline that I can get into too. I don't mind. We get to Dr. Damon's event. I forgot what the heck it's for, but it's interesting that it's for lawyers and doctors. Curtis appears, and they definitely make a point to show us. And I think they did a good job of like timing this episode out and editing it, because I just kind of looked at it as, oh, it's Curtis, and they're making a point to show us, and that's interesting and that's ironic because the internet has been like, where's Curtis? Where's Curtis? Where's Curtis? Lo and behold, Curtis is going to play a huge part in, the next part of this episode and then, the episodes to come. So I'm like, nice. Because I have been asking for some Dr. Jackie, like, girl. So it seems like she's about to get to work. Maybe. I did note that Heavenly was a little bit overdressed, so it was interesting to hear Simone say, like, Phaedra dressed her. And I'm like, okay, makes sense. And I thought that it was just a key based on how Phaedra be looking, because Phaedra overdoes the blonde hair, and that's just the type of stuff that she wears. But we get an actual cut back to, Heavenly being dressed by Phaedra. So I'm like, why would she put her in that? And I'm like, I'm interested to see what Phaedra about to come in. And Phaedra came in this very, nice looking cheetah get up thing. And I'm like, okay, you don't look as crazy as Heavenly. But I'm like, I guess because Heavenly is the host. But she was overdressed. It looked like it was about 5 p.m. outside. I'm like, girl, what's going on? And it didn't even click for me until I was really watching and seeing everybody kind of fall in. And I'm like, oh my God, we are at a group event. I'm like, where have the group events gone? Like, where have the full cast events gone? And I'm like, we needed this so badly. Like, who made the call to say, like, hey, have the castmates met? Like, has anybody spoken? Like, have we gotten those types of dynamics, that type of fun? Like, where has this been? So, I thought the group was fun, the group event. Like, nothing crazy came out of it. It's just like, you need that. Like, it kind of feels like a touch base to me. Like, I don't know. It's kind of like a checkpoint for these types of ensemble cast shows. Like, why isn't everybody being seen together? Like, I feel like we need that for something to jump off. Like, I'm bored. So praise God. And I thought it was cute that, and funny that Heavenly did the, auction of Phaedra for a man thing. The humor that Heavenly provided in this episode felt like old seasons. Like, it's been missing. Like, she's always funny. She's hilarious to me. But this episode just kind of felt like an old Married to Medicine episode where there are things happening of context, there are storylines flowing, and Heavenly is just in here to be Heavenly and make us laugh. Like, that felt good. And it was interesting. It kind of felt thrown in, and I hate the lack of context because I feel like this could have been really good if they had drawn this storyline out the way that they should have at the beginning of the season. But Dr. Alicia and her husband, basically they talk about Toya. I think it was Toya that kind of was headlining it and bringing up the, weird stuff that her husband was saying while they were out of town about, women having too much of a voice and men needed to get some balls and take the lead. So I'm like, okay, this hit, but it would have hit better if we had more context to this story, if we would have let this story build up. But whatever, we're here now. And it was like a sense of like, suspense of like, oh, what is Dr. Alicia gonna say? And I like that we got to learn more about her. And she seems like she's gonna be good dialogue wise, and she's letting them know like, well, I grew up in a single parent home, so I was always raised to do everything on my own. So I definitely have differences from my husband, and he definitely has issues as it pertains to that topic. So I like that she was able to articulate that and be honest about that. And it seems like she has her feet on the ground and knows what the hell is going on. However, more interesting, she had an issue with the way that it was being brought by the group. Like, she's like, why you in my business? And I think that that's an interesting dynamic. Like, I kind of love that. I kind of live for that. Like, from that little exchange right there, I felt like, oh, she has more to offer than half of this cast already. Like, there is dynamic here. There is personal story here. Like, something's gonna happen, and it feels authentic, and I'm excited about it. And again, this kind of felt like an old Married to Medicine episode too, because you get to see Toya's overall dynamic and character of basically like throwing these little shots. For lack of a better word, it's like cute shade. Like, it's Toya. Like, that's how Toya talks. Like, she's just like throws little cute shady comments out there, and it's like masked that shade, but there's truth to it. Like, she's kind of like, she mean it, but she's saying it in a fun shade type of way. That's Toya. She's kind of taking shots at the husband, like, seems like he might be kind of difficult to take care of. And Dr. Alicia is like, yeah, just like you. Like, she's really getting into her, like, clap. Like, she was giving me, like, old school Sheree. Like, very quick with the clapbacks. Sheree is still quick with the clapbacks, but they're not as great as they used to be, but that's a different show. But yeah, she was giving me that. Like, it was giving. So I was enjoying seeing that type of dynamic between her and Toya. Like, basically, like, girl, who you talking to and why you in my business? Like, you have your own issues. Like, you think my husband's difficult, so are you. Like, y'all have more in common than you think. So I thought that was tea. I'm like, this is great. Again, it hit, but it could have hit better. They could have given her more support on the back end, so we even know who this lady is and why we care. But fine. I also like how we get the group together now, and Simone announces the group trip. And I feel like, again, like, I didn't watch all seasons of Married to Medicine, but I know from watching the seasons that I've watched that couple trips in this cast are staples, and they always give special attention and care and editing and all of that to couple trips on this show. So I like that they do that for viewers, because it feels like if you come in as somebody who doesn't know anything, you can get caught up. And I think I like the way that they show the montage of the different ups and downs of different couple trips and the key things. And I also like that it's not the same flashbacks that we always get. Like, each year we get different flashbacks from a couple trip, because a different aspect of what was happening on that couple's trip, or maybe around that past couple's trip, has to do with our current story. They always kind of get that right. Like, it always kind of bleeds over. So now the focus is gonna be on the couple's trips, but as it pertains to what was happening with Jackie and Curtis's marriages back then. And fantastic. So Simone, lets them know that, and I just could not catch the name properly, but I believe she said Hilton Head. I was gonna look it up and I did not. But I believe she said Hilton Head, and Jackie is immediately like what? And we find out that that is where Curtis went with his mistress when, he cheated on Jackie back in the day. And now they're going to be going on a couples trip there. And so now there's automatically this question of, because, we watch Married to Medicine, I'm assuming we watch Housewives. We watch a lot of Housewives. We know these, like, produced schemy moments that happen between the cast. So it already becomes a question of, well, did Simone do this to be messy, right? And Heavenly's kind of getting in there like, well, girl, like, she jumps in kind of immediately like, don't you think that's weird? Like, why would you do that? And so I thought about it a little bit, not in the heat of the episode because I couldn't focus, but I thought about it a little bit afterwards. I don't think Simone has anything to gain by being messy with Jackie. I just don't see her doing it. I don't feel like they're as close as they let on. I feel like there is some underlying tension between them, but they know how to work together. But I don't think that there's enough tension for them to do underlying weird, sneaky things to each other. I just don't see that. And so then my secondary question then becomes like, well, was this like a producer thing? Because I'm like, of all places in the world, period, not even maybe in that region, because I don't even know where Hilton Head is, but I felt like they were going somewhere regional. But of all places in the world, they decided to go there. Why? And I'm wondering, was there some type of producer involvement? Because I know producers kind of help with the trips, right? Like they have to make it work with the season. Sometimes they help financially. So, and I'm wondering, like, are they in on the decision making for where they're going? So I'm wondering if there's something there. And then obviously, if there is, Simone's not going to be able to break that third wall and bring that up on the show. So she's going to catch the weirdness regardless. But I'm thinking behind the curtain. So I don't know. So Heavenly, is letting us know, like, that's obviously going to trigger Jackie. Like, she literally, like, is just laying it out for us from the moment it says. She's like, while we go there, that's where Curtis got caught cheating. This will obviously trigger Jackie. And she's asking Simone, like, well, did you clear this with Jackie first? And Simone, to me, like, she seemed to be genuinely caught off guard. And she was like, I honestly did not think about it. Like, I didn't remember that. I didn't think anything about it. And she's like, she basically asked, as prompted by Heavenly, like, Jackie, are you cool with this? And Jackie kind of mumbles her way through it. I mean, she says, we'll see. Like, I'm not necessarily eager to go. Like, I've never been and I don't really want to go, but we'll see. But then I don't even know why Simone asked, because she then says, well, the accommodation's already paid for, so we're going. So that felt interesting to me. Like, that kind of made me take a step back a little, because I'm like, I don't think she was involved in the mess. But to just kind of, the way she just kind of came out and said, like, well, we're going anyway, that felt a little like, oh, like, that'd be weird. Oh, like, weird. Okay. But anywho, Jackie also, says in her confessional that she doesn't think that Simone was trying to do anything underhanded. But then they kind of ask her, like, since Jackie was kind of whatever placating it, it says, I don't know, like, we'll see. They're like, well, is Curtis going to be fine with it? And she's like, I don't know, I got to go home and ask him. And when she said that, I kind of felt like I kind of felt bad. Like, I kind of felt like she seems nervous, like, kind of anxious about that in the way that she said it. So I'm like, like, I wanted Jackie to work, but not at the expense of her. Like, she seems kind of, I don't know, like, she seems kind of still frazzled by that. So I'm like, ooh. So we get to their house, and I'm appreciating seeing a scene with them, because we don't see much of that. Curtis ain't been around, we know. And Curtis immediately tells her that he's going back to the DR. So I'm like, oh my God, is he conveniently going to miss this? Like, by, just ironically. And she says, well, we got this trip coming up. We're going to Hilton Head. And he kind of just about goes off. Like, he's just like, but making valid points. And I feel like he was going straight past the BS. Like, he didn't break the third wall or the fourth wall, whatever the hell. It's the fourth. I always never know. But he didn't break the fourth wall, but he was tapping on it. Like, he was like, listen, I don't want to go on this trip and it's at the expense of us. Like, I don't want to reopen this wound. I don't want to go there and the whole discussion is us. Like, I don't want to be the storyline for this couple's trip. And Jackie is kind of like, she's pushing back, but not as much. And she's kind of like, it's kind of turning it to a point. I can't really explain it, but it got to a point where I was saying, like, he got some nerve to be feeling some type of way about something that he did. Like, it's his fault that he had the affair and that they went to Hilton Head. So it's his fault that it happened. He has a point, like, okay, I don't want to reopen this wound. I don't want it to be weird. And I don't want to be the subject for entertainment of this TV show, right? Like, I don't want to play no games. I feel him. But to the point where Jackie is saying, like, well, we need to go. Like, we should probably go. And she even kind of says, like, I do want to go because it has been 10 years of their marriage or their relationship or whatever. So it also feels like Jackie is trying to sell it. Maybe for work, but also because she's trying to get past the nitty gritty part of it. Because Curtis is clearly upset and she's clearly still anxious about the topic. So it feels like they're trying to sweep that honey. And so she's trying to sell it, but Curtis is not, he's not feeling it. So yeah, I started to feel like, well, why does he have the audacity to say he's just not going to go? Like, I was waiting for him to just say he was going to go to support Jackie. And we weren't hearing that. But we move on to Aiden's 13th birthday party, which is super cute. Feel how you want to feel about Phaedra, but it's just so nice to see her boys on the show and think back to, when she first came on Housewives, she was pregnant with Aiden. So just thinking back to being there for all of that, it's fun to watch. And I also thought it was really fun that Dwight was there to introduce, him coming out. And I was like, I'm pretty sure Dwight did his party when he was a baby. And it was fun that they showed that flashback. Like, the flashbacks they show were really like the key points. They showed a lot of Aiden on Housewives, honestly. But the ones that they show were really, really really well chosen, and they show really good highlights, and they also show Dwight speaking at Aiden's first birthday party. So I thought that was super cute. Another pretty much full cast event. Thank God. Like they like we need to keep doing this. And basically, Toya is there. I thought it was kind of inappropriate that they were talking about this in front of her son. I'm not gonna question anybody's parenting, but I just thought it was weird because she even says like, "Well, I thought that his dad would have been here," and her son says, "Who?" And she says, "Apollo." Like talking to him like having an adult conversation, and I'm like, "Girl," but she starts to wonder like, "Why is Apollo not here?" And I'm like, cheers to Toya for bringing it up. Somebody needed to, but it kind of felt anticlimactic because we didn't get any Apollo. They didn't go to Phaedra about it. It wasn't discussed amongst the group, and there was nothing more to it. So it fell flat. But at least she brought it up. I also thought it was like humorous again, like feeling like an old Married to Medicine episode. Just seeing the edit, like this isn't necessarily necessary, but it's great comedic relief to the show and it's relevant. And we see Cecil's brother, who was pretty handsome, and Heavenly clocks that he don't have on his wedding ring, so she is telling everybody he is married, child. And then this weird, I'm like, imagine being on TV, not even being really a subject to the show, like you just on there because your brother on there and they want to chat with you, and now you on here and you get caught looking at Phaedra's butt talking about you needed to be saved because Heavenly keep telling him, get away from him, you married. He like, yeah, because I needed to be saved, and they played it back. I'm like, I know his wife, child. It was also interesting to see Dr. Alicia's, I think her husband's name is Kima, but him talking to Dr. G, like I didn't even imagine this dynamic. That's why you need group all cast events. And, Dr. G and he and Kima, I think it's his name, they are basically bonding and having a good kiki honey. Like they're having a good time about, the wife being at home and cooking and handling things while you go work. Like that is the life. That's what they like. Like they're having just a casual conversation. Like they are really enjoying each other's company. But Heavenly still at work, not just comedic relief, but also tea. So she's having a conversation again with Simone, and she gives more context, which I thought was just so interesting to me, and I would love to hear more about this. She's saying basically Simone could have easily changed the location, right? Like for the sake of her friend. Like she's saying that which I did note kind of like it was weird that she felt so stern about that. Like, and Heavenly's saying though she could have easily changed the location, and she's choosing not to. So she's trying to hold Simone accountable to just say that she's wrong is essentially what I'm getting. Like once she say that she's wrong and she says it in Jackie's face, I feel like that's a point for Heavenly, and she is not going to stop until she gets it. And that is irking the hell out of Simone. And Simone, I like that they're cutting through the BS. Simone is just like, Heavenly's trying to paint it as if I did this on purpose. Like I was doing something to Jackie. But then we cut and we get to like the Aiden montage where I was telling y'all they played all the really cute clips. And his speech to his mom was just so super cute. I love that part as well. But we talked about Aiden. And then we cut back and Simone's like, okay. Heavenly's like, okay, let's continue this. And this time Jackie had come late, so they called Jackie to the conversation. Simone basically like, girl, I'm just trying to check in with you. Like, what's your tea? Because Heavenly has been speaking for Jackie this entire time. Now Jackie's here, so Jackie, please speak. And Jackie's like, well, Curtis doesn't want to go. And it's like, okay, so I feel like they kind of get into some semantics and some just not substantive stuff because Jackie's not trying to talk. So we fall back into Heavenly trying to hold Simone accountable and like, look, girl, look at this, look at this. And I'm like, she's digging and for a point. And I like that it was highlighted by Toya T that Heavenly always speaks for Jackie. Like Jackie doesn't say anything, so I'm like, thank you. So that once we heard that from Toya and it took us back to the conversation, it allowed me to watch it differently and with more detail. And I'm like, Heavenly really is speaking for Jackie, and she's obviously trying to get something out. So then she finally says, amongst the yelling between her and Simone, she finally says like, well, obviously, girl, if Curtis ain't going, if her husband ain't going, she ain't gonna want to go. So I'm like, that never even occurred to me. Like, Heavenly's trying to say, like, girl, it's more to the story. Like, hello. She's trying to get it out of Jackie, but by way of aggressing Simone, but not aggressing Jackie. Like, Jackie, speak up for yourself, girl. Like, hello. And so Simone's like, well, let me ask Jackie. Like, girl, speak for yourself. Like, hello. Let me hear from you. And she's like, girl, so what's up? And Jackie's like, well, yeah, like, I most likely wouldn't want to go either. And I'm like, girl, put your neck up. Like, stand up straight. Like, just say it. Like, what is happening, Jackie? So that was just kind of irritating, but I like that Toya was able to point it out, and I like the shade. Like, girls, let's let's get on Jackie. Like, let's discuss Jackie, please. And again, it doesn't have to be salacious, but like, girl, open your mouth. And Toya's like, girl, like, Jackie is shady, honey. Like, but I want her to be shady in person. I want her to participate. I want her to work. And then, like, the dynamic of even seeing, like, Heavenly really, like, Simone even calls her like Jackie's bulldog, and she's like really fighting for Jackie. And the fact that Simone is clearly, she's not in a very emotional place about it anymore. I think former seasons you see her be very emotional about it, but now she's being very matter of fact about it and clocking that tea. And she's just like, but girl, I have a 20-year relationship with Jackie versus your 5 to 6. Like, Simone really knows how to get in there and let the girls know very swiftly, like, girl, I'm paying that. I don't care. But Heavenly is Heavenly. So that's why that's always such a good matchup. And Heavenly is like, girl, it doesn't matter. Like, everything I'm saying is fact. Like, I'm saying it, I'm yelling it, you don't want to hear it. But then when you ask Jackie, she whispers exactly what I just said. So that three there, like, when they're working, that dynamic is T. It's T, because there is just so much there that's never going to be resolved. It's getting better to the point where it's not so emotional and so brash and so much yelling and screaming, but it still has that tension. And it's just fantastic television. So I really, really enjoyed this episode. I thought it gave us way, way more than many of the past episodes in consecutive order. And so, I'm really appreciative of the dynamics that we got to see. I'm glad that we are getting Jackie in the mix. And I'm excited to see, they gave us like a small preview to, well, a pretty big preview. I won't say small, good preview to next week. And I'm excited to see it. I think it's going to be tea. So, see you next week.